How's it going, everyone? We've got some Resident Evil Requiem updates to go over in this video. We do have some new footage thanks to Nvidia as a part of their showcase on various new features that they are rolling out, and man, does this game look good. And if you have a higher end PC, it is going to look pretty incredible. And from a system requirements standpoint, which I'll go over if you're playing this game on PC, it's not going to be a super difficult game to run, so we'll highlight that. On top of that, the game has cracked a major milestone in terms of wishlist. This is going to be one of the biggest games of 2026, and I do foresee it being the most concurrently played Resident Evil title in the history of Steam. I only bring that up because that's the most public data set that we're going to have right off the release day until Capcom puts out official statements about sales numbers and things of that nature. And I do want to highlight the pre-order bonus, the deluxe edition, at the end of this video. But before we get into that, if you are looking to pick the game up on PC, I should note that our friends over at Green Man Gaming do have the game heavily discounted, so this will be a $70 release. This is the first Resident Evil title that will be opting for the $70 price tag, but over at Green Man Gaming, it is 15% off for $59.49. That is a Steam copy of the game. You can get the base game and the deluxe edition 15% off. Deluxe edition would be $68. I will leave a link in the description box below. It is one of the biggest game releases of the year, so get it a little bit cheaper over at GMG. Alright, first of all, there was some new Resident Evil Requiem footage at the Nvidia event that happened, in the Nvidia stream, whatever you want to call it, and showcasing a DLSS 4, path tracing turned on, and the game from a visual standpoint looks absolutely incredible. I think particularly the city and seeing some of the visuals there and seeing Grace walking throughout that, my goodness, does the game look incredible in that regard. It will be interesting to see how this translates to lower end PCs or even mid-level PCs. As far as the system requirements go, this game does not look too difficult to run. But obviously, if you're trying to max it out and get the most out of it at 4K, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to run, to say the least. I will also say Capcom recently has had a track record with not so great PC versions, particularly Dragon's Dogma 2 and Monster Hunter Wilds. However, Resident Evil games historically have ran really well. Resident Evil 2 ran really well. Resident Evil 4, the remake, I had a great experience with that on PC, and I would imagine that Requiem is going to be super optimized as well. And given the system requirements are relatively tame if you look at it, and remember, this game is going to be released on Nintendo Switch too, but the system requirements are fairly tame. You're looking at an Intel Core i5 8500 and a Ryzen 5 3500, 16 gigs of RAM, a GTX 1660 or a Radeon RX 5500 XT, and then recommended it's a little bit higher end, but not by much. Intel Core i7 8700, AMD Ryzen 5 5500, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and RTX 2060 Super, or a Radeon RX 6600 8 gigabyte. Now, hopefully at some point they will drop for PC players the full breakdown and you know, the different tiers, because all we have to go by is the 2 tiers that are available on the Steam page. Generally speaking, most games, especially big games like this, you eventually have a PC specifications with a full rollout with like 4 to 6 different tiers with ray tracing on or off, DLSS being utilized, FSR being utilized, etc, etc. So hopefully that will come in the near future. Resident Evil Requiem is also looking to be one of the biggest games of 2026, as the game has just cracked 4 million plus wishlist. That's across all platforms, but that is an absolutely staggering number. And again, while I don't think Requiem is going to be bigger than Grand Theft Auto 6, for my personal excitement, I am far more excited for Resident Evil Requiem than I am Grand Theft Auto 6. Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to give me a fun time in an open world, but Resident Evil Requiem is a game that I know I'm going to get super immersed into, and I'm going to play through it multiple times. Maybe it's not going to have the sheer content level of GTA 6, but in terms of immersive games that are more up my alley, I would rather a game be all killer, no filler, and I know that's what Resident Evil Requiem is going to give me, and I hope that the game does outstandingly well. It is going to be interesting as a $70 game. Again, this is the first Resident Evil title that's going to be $70, and is that going to push some people away? To be frank, I don't think it is. I think that $70 price tag is a huge issue for some games, and I think it poses a barrier for certain titles. I see a lot of the pushback that Code Vein 2 is getting for its $70 price point. Yeah, that's a game where I do think the $70 price tag is going to be a bit of a hindrance, and I think people are going to be pushed away. Resident Evil Requiem, on the basis of it being such a juggernaut of an IP and just a a gargantuan game. It's the first mainline Resident Evil entry since 2021 with Resident Evil Village. People are gonna pay the premium for Resident Evil Requiem, and I think it'll do fine at $70, even if you can make the argument that, hey, the Resident Evil games are shorter games. They're not these 50-hour titles, but I think that works in the context of a Resident Evil title. Again, being those games that are super replayable, people will go back, play through them multiple times, and you know that as far as the mainline RE titles go, and even the remakes have been outstanding. Even RE3, as the reception of that wasn't as strong as 2 and 4, and that was still a pretty solid game. Requiem, you're fairly confident based on all the goodwill that Resident Evil has built over the past few years, and really going back to 2017 with Resident Evil 7, that it's gonna be pretty darn good, and it's gonna be well worth the $70 if nothing else. And lastly, I do want to note that the game is available for pre-order, like I said. There is no fake early access gimmick. This is a game that I think Capcom could have made a ton of money with the fake early access gimmick, but thankfully they're not going that route yet. I believe Capcom is one of the studios that have not jumped on board to fake early access, and PlayStation has succumbed to the model now as well. Square Enix has succumbed to the deluxe edition giving you fake early access. In the case of Resident Evil Requiem, the game will be out on February 27th, and with the pre-order, you will be getting a costume for Grace, and that is the Apocalypse costume, but they will have a deluxe edition with 5 additional costumes, 4 additional weapon skins. You will have some filters as well. The screen filter of Apocalypse, I think, looks pretty cool. Now, that is something that it would have been nice if it was in the base game. I feel like screen filter should be in the base game, but whatever. Charms, you've got the Mr. Raccoon charms, and a total of 2 charms additional will be added. Audio pack, Raccoon City Classics, and Files Letters from 1998 will be added. That's just the deluxe kit. It's $10 more expensive if you do want that. It's not necessary. You can get the base game for $70, but if you're super excited for the game, that might be something to look at. And again, both editions of the game are discounted over at Green Man Gaming. Standard edition is 15% off, as is the deluxe edition, and if you're an XP member over at Green Man Gaming, you'll actually save 18%, and it'll knock it down to $57. So beats out spending $70 plus tax. You won't pay tax either on GMG, and you'll get a Steam code, redeems directly on Steam, and you'll be good to go when the game drops on February 27th. Again, if it's not the most anticipated game, generally speaking, of 2026, I really do believe at this point, Resident Evil Requiem is number 2, and maybe that's because the game is out in just 6 or so weeks, and, you know, by the time Wolverine rolls around, I'm sure that'll be heavily anticipated as well. But cannot wait for February 27th, the latest Resident Evil title, and I'm sure after this we'll have more remakes to look forward to. But that'll do it for me. Your thoughts down below. As always, sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.